Look at something different now, a technological approach here for looking at ESG and managing your suppliers. So I'm going to pass over to Richard Sapp, who's head of AWS Marketplace, and he's going to talk about how a marketplace can add value in this space. Morning.
Morning. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. It's great to be standing in front of a real live audience again for the first time in, 2 years. So I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. I haven't done this in a while. My name is Richard Sapp. I run the AWS Marketplace across APJ, and that's a marketplace for the cloud services provided through Amazon Web Services. And really enjoyed that previous session from Matt, and great to see CBRE join the Climate Pledge. Many of you will know Amazon is also a signatory and co-founder of the Climate Pledge. We're really happy about that because it's incredibly important to our mission. The sustainability report for 2020 that we released actually has an updated number for us in terms of the renewables, and that Amazon has been able to get to 65% renewable energy consumption across the business, and that includes Amazon Web Services. So all the data centers and regions that we run on behalf of our customers to build new cloud-based workloads are part of that number. So that 65% is an increase year on year from 42% in 2019. So we're really happy with the progress so far, but we still have a lot further to go. And I think that's the transition point where one of the things I want to talk about in the next 20 minutes is really about how in our world in cloud, we're looking to, of course, help our customers innovate by building new services and new workloads in the cloud at speed, but how over the last several years, as more and more enterprises have been moving into the cloud, procurement has become an essential part of that process, and it has become an essential part of an essential customer of ours, not just in terms of organizations buying cloud services, but actually becoming an essential customer of ours in accelerating and allowing for faster innovation in our enterprises. So I want to talk a little bit about how digital transformation is all about innovation and transformation, how enterprises are migrating and modernizing application environments, application stacks, but how there are governance and control challenges in that we're looking to support. And of course, at the end of the day, how as cloud spend increases dramatically, how organizations can continue to optimize at scale. If we look at innovation and transformation, organizations today are innovating faster than they ever have before. And there's some really interesting data that I think sits behind this. Everybody here, and I see and appreciate you guys with the phones up taking pictures, right? We are all digitally connected consumers. We don't just have phones in our pockets anymore. We've got connected refrigerators. We've got connected cars. We have working for us digitally connected heavy machinery. Smart factories are being built. Smart cities are being built, right? The digital revolution, the digital transformation is happening all around us. And so enterprises are knee-deep in digital transformation already. The number that I love to quote is that worldwide there are more than 20 million software developers taking business processes and turning them into software. As a software geek, that obviously gets me excited because there's 20 million of us, but the real number there is that the majority of them don't even sit in software companies or technology companies. They sit in your businesses. And so the pressure to innovate, the desire to innovate is great, and AWS and cloud service providers, they allow those software developers to very quickly build up new products, new services, new solution stacks. So far, so good. We're also seeing increasing numbers of organizations migrate and modernize those application stacks. So more and more customers are telling us that they are planning to shut down more data centers, and that is accelerating. Okay? That's a challenge because it isn't just a question of lifting and shifting applications to the cloud. There are new innovative technologies that are available to our customers, provided by partner organizations, many of them software vendors, many of them consulting partners, data vendors, that are at the heart of how application stacks can actually be built in the cloud. So think of security or networking tooling or any of the applications that developers need to actually set up a new application or workload. Those are going to be cloud specific. So a lot of new vendors that didn't exist even 5 years ago or 10 years ago are in the market that enterprises are transacting with. There's a great example of that. Governance and control is getting increasingly important in the cloud space. Over the last 15 years, we've seen this transformation of a lot of software business into software as a service. So the software doesn't even need to be deployed anymore. It is readily available to the buyer, to the user through the web. And so it's very, very easy to not only buy, but also to deploy because it's ready to go. And so we see that an average enterprise company maintains more than 600 SaaS applications. And a lot of that spend, including cloud spend, is actually happening in the line of business budget rather than the IT budget. So more and more parts of the organization, as they're driving for innovation, are actually making procurement decisions, and a lot of that isn't going through a procurement flow. And then last but not least, the major trend as well, of course, is that cloud is making up and is going to continue to make up an ever greater part of the global IT enterprise spend. Projected right now at over 14% by 2024, which is just around the corner, and that's probably a conservative projection from last year. So optimizing that spend is going to become increasingly imperative for enterprises. Now there's some challenges. I talked about those software developers. We commonly refer to them in AWS as builders. These are the software developers that are keen to build something. They want to set up workloads. They want to set up new products that can drive value to the business. The challenge is we enable that because AWS is very easy to run up or run down core infrastructure. And Marketplace, our capability, makes it very easy for them to, in a self-service fashion, buy products. They can buy software products. Now, most of our use cases for developers is that they actually set up what we call test dev workloads. They are in a sandbox environment and they create a brand new product and they're using some free trial software, they're using some usage-based software to really test if they can build a new application. Once that's up and running though, and they want to scale that out rapidly to a production workload across a global organization, they need to actually buy that software properly. Right? And so purchasing and transparency of that purchasing becomes increasingly important for that. So transparency and cost management is a major challenge in terms of maintaining speed in that innovation. Legacy processes can slow down that innovation as well. Right? We have to go through procurement processes, but in some cases, we've been talking a little bit about vendor onboarding or seller onboarding. That can take several weeks, if not months. So all of a sudden, that development of a new application stalls until we get the vendors onboarded, multiple vendors onboarded, doing the risk assessment against those products, all takes and stalls that process. And then ultimately, as the line of business and as cloud adoption accelerates, there's a real challenge around visibility and consumption oversight. So entitlement management is a topic that we hear customers talk about as their cloud portfolio and as their cloud space expands. How can they maintain visibility in what's actually being used versus what's just sitting, and which parts of the organization are using? And influx of new solutions, of course, create pressure. Right? So as organizations have more and more of these new vendors to onboard, that creates pressure on the procurement departments to approve and onboard those vendors. And then ultimately, security and compliance risks, they never go away. We always have to ensure that security and compliance is maintained. And so AWS Marketplace ultimately is just what it sounds like. It is a single marketplace. It's a cloud marketplace where our customers can find, subscribe to, deploy, and manage third-party software, data products, machine learning models and algorithms, container-based products, as well as professional services to drive implementation around their cloud build-outs. And all of that is transacted through the marketplace and billed on that customer's AWS bill. Now, this is just a quick snapshot. This is what the storefront looks like, and its originally in its conception was very similar to Amazon.com or Amazon.sg or whichever flavor of Amazon you may have had an opportunity to use. Customer goes in, searches for a product, finds a product, and can immediately click, buy, and deploy that product. And we have a managed catalog of over 14,000 listings, 14,000 distinct products from over 2,600 different ISVs, data providers, and services providers. So it's a very substantial catalog that is entirely managed. So we onboard those vendors, we onboard those products, we vet those products, and we continuously monitor those products for vulnerabilities, for security vulnerabilities. We can isolate any products where we do detect a vulnerability and remediate that with our partners so that our customers can always have the right patches and the right updates immediately available. And again, that directly is transacted through those AWS accounts and billed by AWS to the customer. So there's an improvement there in terms of the vendor onboarding, but then there's also the ability for some significant cost savings through discount programs that we set up on behalf of our customers. Now, where we're looking and what's happened over the last 5 years in particular is we've seen this trend and this request from our customers to help them actually also then transform their digital supply chain, to bring procurement into what was really a shadow IT environment, right, where lines of business and individual developers were able to buy and deploy applications. And so on the one hand, we want to make sure that we can provide the broadest selection of products to allow those builders, to allow those developers to very quickly deploy and keep that innovation pace high. But at the same time, we've been building capabilities for speeding up procurement processes so procurement is a clean and clear part of that innovation and transformation. Some examples of that, of the functionality that we build for procurement, for provisioning, and for governance are, for instance, private offers. So private offers is a simple capability where procurement professional can negotiate for the best terms, best price, best contract directly with the vendor, but then we capture that in Marketplace and transact that through AWS Marketplace as a digital transaction. Right? Again, it all goes through a consolidated billing process via AWS, and the builder can immediately and directly deploy that into their production environment. As mentioned, we do vendor onboarding and assessments, which help accelerate that part. We also have a growing catalog of data products that's for many organizations are a relatively new product and vendor type. And so that is a growing part of our catalog, and an increasingly important part of what our customers are building their workloads with is, of course, data, including their own data, that they can leverage AWS Data Exchange to consolidate and bring this new product type together. Standardized license terms is something that we created a few years back because one of the things that we saw holding up innovation in our customers was they would spend a significant amount of time sitting their legal teams across from the vendor legal team negotiating on EULAs, on end user license agreements or just standard contracts. And so what we did is we brought together some of our customers, our major enterprise customers, and some of our larger vendors, and we hammered out a standard contract. So right now in AWS Marketplace, more than 1,400 different software vendors all subscribe to the same standard licensing terms, which is great. If a customer's legal department is on board with those exact licensing terms, no more legal negotiation on that contract. If there's a difference of a few points, maybe 5 points that need to still be discussed, guess what? It's already reduced because you're not working off of two fundamentally different pieces of paper. So little things, little functionality capabilities where we're bringing that into Marketplace and allowing organizations to really transform faster. A few more to mention is private marketplace. Private marketplace is exactly what it sounds like. It's the ability for our customers to actually set up a subset of our entire catalog. So what you guys are, I'm sure, familiar with, which is, setting up your procurement catalogs, right? What are the approved products? We now enable that through AWS Marketplace, where our enterprise customers can set up their own private catalog, right? Including the ability to directly deploy, because it's already a pre-approved purchase, or to request a particular product in the cloud, to deploy in the cloud, or simply blocked components of the catalog. And together with our cost management capabilities and our license manager, we also now provide full visibility on managed entitlements. So what are the entitlements that your organization has deployed throughout the AWS cloud architecture, throughout those AWS accounts, and what has been used, what hasn't been used. And last but not least, it's worth mentioning as well, we are we've also published a series of APIs that allow our customers to actually integrate their AWS experience directly into their enterprise procurement systems. So this is a really important piece where it actually allows our enterprise customers to start extending core procurement processes into the growing cloud space as their organizations adopt more and more cloud services. So things that we're looking to do, of course, is simpler purchasing, streamlining that process, so allowing the builders in the organization to continue moving at pace, innovating faster and faster while adhering to governance and control. Centralizing the procurement of the cloud services and of the cloud software into a single point, so that from a procurement perspective, we have a single pane of glass that procurement professionals can go to see what is being spent on cloud and on cloud software, data, and services. And of course, streamline vendor assessments, simplifying and reducing vendor onboarding, especially in the highly dynamic cloud space where more and more organizations are coming up and building net new products that just didn't exist a few years ago. Maintaining and supporting those security risk assessments, and again, maintaining a secure catalog ourselves that our customers can readily use and deploy. And as mentioned, we're seeing an increasing number of larger and larger enterprises moving to the cloud. And these are just a few of the companies that are on record around how they are actually also bringing cloud operations and procurement teams increasingly together. Cloud operations is something that we're seeing a lot of our enterprise customers set up, where they have cloud center of excellences or cloud ops teams that are a integrated function between IT, the business lines, and now increasingly procurement. And so organizations like Nationwide, a major insurance, FSI insurance organization, company in North America, uses Marketplace because it's that balance between speed and agility. The need to quickly develop new workloads, to launch new products, to launch new mobile applications, but have that balance for agility with the governance and controls. Simpress, a multi-billion-dollar organization itself that creates custom products for organizations, they're similarly using AWS and AWS Marketplace to govern their cloud spend and shorten the time for teams to getting in those new products, to bring in those new vendors. Agera, another FSI organization in the insurance space, and Genesys, a major software company in its own right, that is also building on AWS and using AWS Marketplace to consolidate and bring together the procurement teams with cloud ops and their line of business. Now, those are just a few. I think as a whirlwind tour of what we're doing as Amazon Web Services, as Marketplace, to start looking also to the procurement profession as a key customer in the cloud, as a key user in the cloud, that's what I wanted to share with you. But I'd encourage you to take a look at this QR code, take a snapshot with your phone. We have a deep dive webinar that we're doing live August 17th that is specifically targeted at the procurement topic. And we'll dive a lot deeper into the capabilities that we're bringing to our customers in looking to digitize and modernize their software supply chain on AWS. And with that, thank you very much.
That's great, Richard. Before you head off, I don't know if there's any
questions.
questions at all. We do have a question here at the front. Maybe we can just take one question. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, I have a question for you. That is, if I want to build a private marketplace and then I have a list of vendors that I want to bring on board, can you share with me what kind of fee structure you'll be charging my vendors? Because usually that's my hurdle. They think it's an extra cost, and then they might charge me. So I want to hear from you, how is that fee structure being built? Thank you.
Right. Great question. So the onboarding of a vendor, we don't charge a fee for onboarding. Now, what we do is for building and maintaining a marketplace, we do charge our vendors a transaction-based percentage, right? So what happens is we actually are proactively working with vendors to onboard them into marketplace, but then not only do we onboard them into marketplace and including their products, the product listings, we then also incorporate them into our partner organization co-sell teams. Right, so what we do is we onboard them, yes, we charge them a listing fee, but then we also support their growth and development as a seller, right? And so together with our partner sales teams and our own sales teams, we're actually then also in a position to add value to that seller to drive and grow their business through AWS and AWS Marketplace. So it's not just a question of their onboarding just to meet the private marketplace or to be part of a private marketplace. That might be where it starts, but we certainly then invest in that partner as well to encourage them to grow their business with other customers, right? So there shouldn't be pushback to you because the cost should not be substantial, right? It's not until it's a transaction, and more importantly, we want to support them grow beyond that single transaction.
That's great. Thanks, Richard, and thanks for the question. If you have more questions for AWS, I know that they don't have a stand here, but they have a table because they like to do things a little bit differently. So I think you all deserve a coffee break. So go and have tea, coffee.